If they don't get him, I don't know where they possibly go from here, and how can you possibly have faith in this front office anymore? They've got to land Giannis, or it's an absolute failure.
That's one voice, but there are more, and they don't all agree on this Giannis deal. Some say landing him saves Miami. Some say chasing him sinks them. So which one is true? What set off this whole debate? Let's go back to how the Heat got to the front of the line. Giannis Antetokounmpo is in trade talks again for the second summer in a row. He's been the subject of rumors since last season. But by spring, it wasn't just talk anymore. It became about timing. There's a real clock running. Bucks co-owner Jimmy Haslam said back in May the team would settle Giannis's future before the 2026 draft. That draft lands on June 23rd, so Milwaukee built its own deadline. And every team chasing Giannis felt the pressure too. The list of suitors got smaller fast. By June, it was down to 2 teams, Boston and Miami. And one name kept popping up everywhere, Miami. The Heat had real talks with Milwaukee before the February deadline. Then came bigger news. Giannis reportedly put Miami at the top of his list. Then it got even clearer. Miami became his preferred choice. And soon, everyone covering the league was saying the same thing out loud.
Latest report I saw this morning was the Miami Heat may have become the front runners for him.
That was the read heading into the offseason. Out of every team chasing Giannis, Miami had pulled ahead, and there's a clear reason why. It comes down to one relationship. Giannis is close friends with Heat star Bam Adebayo. That bond has shaped this entire story.
He's friends with Bam Adebayo. The report is that Giannis wants to go to Miami.
So here's the picture. The player wants Miami. His best friend already plays there. The Heat have been in this race longer than anyone else, since last season. And they didn't just talk, they acted. ESPN's Brian Windhorst reported Miami sweetened its offer since February, adding the 13th pick in the 2026 draft, plus players like Tyler Herro. One version of the deal sent Milwaukee the 13th pick, Herro, Kel'el Ware, Nikola Jovic, and 2 future first-round picks. Then the real argument started. 3 different analysts looked at the same trade and went 3 different directions. The first one saw nothing but disaster ahead.
Even chasing Giannis, bro, that's another cigar that's gonna blow up in your face.
But another analyst flipped it completely. He said Miami had no choice. They had to make this move.
If the Miami Heat strike out on another star, we need to have a conversation.
And a third voice skipped the deal entirely. He said even with Giannis, this team still doesn't win it all.
The Miami Heat are not winning a championship. Not this year. Not the first.
So here's where things stand. Milwaukee set a deadline. The race came down to 2 teams. Miami moved ahead, backed by Giannis's preference and his friendship with Bam. They put a real offer on the table. And the moment they did, every analyst split into different camps. One says it blows up. One says it's overdue. One says it's not even enough. And there's more baggage here too. Heat president Pat Riley admitted his team needed big changes after 4 rough seasons stuck in the play-in tournament. One analyst pointed right at that history as proof this franchise keeps blowing its chances.
And this weekend, the lottery proved it again.
That's where things stand right before the draft. A star wants out of Milwaukee. A team wants him in Miami. The clock is ticking, just hours left, and nobody covering this agrees on what it means. So let's break this down piece by piece. The claim that this meeting went horribly wrong isn't one argument, it's 4, and each one has its own camp shouting on TV right now. First up, the player himself. Before anyone debates if Miami should pay for Giannis, you have to ask what they're actually buying. And this is where the harshest criticism starts.
A super injury-prone guy that does not shoot.
That's a brutal line. It's built to sting because it stacks 2 scary words together, injury and inefficiency. And it's aimed at a guy who'd cost a fortune. So let's break it down the way any smart front office would. Start with the injuries because there's truth here. This season was rough on his body. Calf strains, an ankle injury, a groin strain, and finally a knee injury bad enough that Milwaukee wanted to shut him down for good. By season's end, he'd missed 32 games. For a team betting everything on one player's health, that's a scary number. But the doesn't shoot line falls apart fast. This year, in his 30 games, he shot a career-best 39.5% from 3. That's elite. The real truth is he doesn't shoot a lot, not that he can't. He picks his spots from deep, then does his real damage somewhere far more brutal, the lane.
You can't bulldoze for the rest of your life through the lane, my brother.
This is the smartest point in the whole debate. Giannis's entire game is built on power. He drives downhill like a freight train and defenders just get run over. He's the only player ever to average 25 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, a block, and a steal in multiple seasons. That's how dominant he's been. The question isn't whether it works now. It clearly does. The question is whether his body can keep taking that punishment at 31, especially after this knee injury. And that same critic took it further. turning his worry into a hard prediction.
Well, his game does not actually age well. It ages terribly.
That's a guess dressed up as a fact, and it deserves a closer look. Plenty of power players faded fast once their body slowed down, but calling it certain is risky, especially for a guy who just had one of the best seasons of his career. He's still a top 10 player, still a 10-time All-Star at 31. Betting against him is a bold move, and history hasn't been kind to people who made that bet before. The same critic didn't stop at Giannis either. He turned around and went after the Heat's own roster.
Who are we kidding? And you're paying Bam a franchise salary when he's not a franchise player. Another mistake.
That's a sharp line, and it hits Miami's weakest spot. This whole plan depends on Giannis and Bam being good enough to win a title together. But if Bam is getting paid like a star while playing like a role player, the whole foundation could be shaky. The critic didn't hold back on setting that ceiling.
Bam's a number 3 on a championship team. He's not a one or a...
You can feel the strategy here. Tear down the star. Too fragile, too limited, too dependent on a body breaking down. Then tear down his future partner. Overpaid, overrated, not the real deal. By the end, the picture is 2 flawed pieces bolted together at a massive cost. And this critic clearly believes it falls apart before it even gets going. But notice the hidden assumption here, that the players are the problem. The next group of critics disagreed completely. They said the players aren't the issue at all. It's the franchise that's broken. If the first camp attacked the man being chased, this camp attacks the people doing the chasing. Another star says it all in 2 words. Nobody's saying the Heat can't spot talent. They dream big again and again. They just never close. It's basically become a joke around the league. So the next analyst read off the list. Every big name in recent years has been tied to Miami at some point. James Harden, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal before he ended up in Phoenix. One near miss turned out lucky, but Miami chased all of them and landed none. Then came the name that still hurts the most.
And most famously, Damian Lillard, who was literally banging down the Heat's door.
The Lillard story haunts every Heat conversation because it had everything this Giannis chase has, and it still fell apart. A superstar begging to come to Miami, a perfect fit on paper. Everyone assumed it was a done deal. Then it just wasn't. Yes, Portland's front office dug in out of spite, but the bigger point stands. Miami had every chance to close this deal, and they let it slip away. And if missing out on stars they wanted hurt, this next part hurts more. The star they had and lost.
Not to mention the whole Jimmy Butler thing where they soured their relationship.
This turns the story from bad luck into something darker, self-sabotage. Butler wasn't some target they missed out on. He was already there. One of the greatest Heat players ever. The man who carried this team to finals runs. And that relationship fell apart from the inside until he was gone. You can blame timing for missing a free agent. You can't blame timing for pushing out your own franchise legend. So this critic reached his breaking point, and his solution was extreme.
If the Heat cannot land Giannis Antetokounmpo, they should clear house in the entire front office.
Let that sink in. This isn't some fan ranting online. This is a real argument that Pat Riley's organization, the gold standard in basketball, should be completely torn down if they whiff again. And honestly, the logic isn't crazy. How often does a top 5 player ask to come to your city? How often is he best friends with your franchise star? How often have you had a head start on every other team chasing him? Every piece that almost worked with Lillard is fully in place this time. It's a perfect storm. And if a perfect storm still ends in failure, that's not bad luck anymore. That's organizational failure. So here's where the 2 camps land. One camp is begging Miami not to do this deal. The other is terrified they'll somehow mess it up again. One sees a trap. The other sees the easiest layup of their life, guarded by a team with a history of missing easy shots. But there's a third question nobody's really asking. Can they even build this deal? Because none of this matters if Miami can't actually put together a real offer. This is where dreams crash into cold, hard math. The third group of analysts didn't care about feelings or friendships. They wanted to know one thing. Can this deal even get made? And that's where things get messy fast.
I'm trying to figure out, for the life of me, what the Heat have to give up.
That's the brutal question. Outside of Tyler Hero and a pile of draft picks, what does Miami actually have that Milwaukee wants? You're trying to land a 2-time MVP, a franchise-changing talent, and your trade chips are one inconsistent guard and a stack of future promises. That gap is exactly why this conversation got complicated fast.
But you got to get 3 or 4 players and picks for a guy like Giannis.
That's the real price tag. You don't land a player like this with 1 star and some scraps. You hand over a pile, young players, picks, future assets, knowing the team that wins the trade today might lose it 5 years from now. And reports confirm exactly that. Milwaukee isn't impressed with Miami's offer. They've been shopping it around to other teams, hoping for something better. Worse, Milwaukee reportedly doesn't even want Hero. He needs a big extension soon, and he's only played 45-plus games once in 3 years. So now Miami isn't just building a package big enough for a superstar, they need a third team to take Hero off their hands first. And the rumors already show what that might look like. One version sends Hero to Detroit in a 3-team trade. Another massive version pulls in Detroit and Memphis too, with Miami ending up with Giannis, Bobby Portis, and Karis LeVert, while giving up a small army of picks and young players. These deals keep getting messier, and every extra team is one more chance for the whole thing to collapse. One analyst broke down Milwaukee's real strategy here.
The way the Bucks are looking at it is you can clear salary that way.
For a team entering a rebuild, this draft is everything. It's a stacked class. Milwaukee wants a fresh start with picks and young talent, not aging vets. Miami's own first-round pick is valuable for exactly that reason. It gives the Bucks a second shot in the lottery. Reports even say the holdup has come down to tiny details, like whether Miami includes Pelle Larsson or Kasparos Yakuponius. But here's the line that should scare every Heat fan: win or lose this trade.
The Miami Heat are not winning a championship. Not this year.
Not the first.
Even the realists who think this deal gets done are warning the payoff might not come fast. You could empty your whole future, your picks, your young guys, your cap space, and still fall short in year one. The entire gamble only makes sense as a title push, and here's someone saying that title isn't coming right away. So now stack all three arguments together. One says the player is a fragile, overpriced risk. One says the franchise is too snake-bitten to trust. One says even a perfect deal might not deliver a ring. That's a lot of doubt for one friendship to fight through. But none of that is the scariest part. There's a fourth threat here, and it has nothing to do with Miami at all. It's the team lurking behind all of this, ready to ruin everything.
One that's far more scary are the Celtics.
That word, scary, means something different here. Boston isn't some struggling team hoping one star saves them. Boston just won a championship, and one analyst laid out the nightmare scenario in one breath.
If you just trade Jaylen Brown, and now you add Tatum and Giannis, that team could win a championship.
That's the real fear. Miami's pitch is Giannis and Bam might contend someday. Boston's pitch is Giannis and Tatum win now. And this isn't fantasy talk. Boston is reportedly on Giannis's list. They've even signaled they'd offer him a long-term extension as part of the deal, something Miami can't easily promise. Reports say Giannis is genuinely intrigued by Boston because he wants to win now, not later. So here's the full picture. 4 arguments, 4 camps, 4 ways this whole thing could fall apart. The fragile, costly star, the franchise with a history of choking, the trade math that keeps getting harder, and the rival lurking in the shadows who could steal it all. So now we can finally answer the real question. Did Giannis's first meeting with the Heat really go horribly wrong? Here's the truth, and it matters most. There was no meeting, not the dramatic kind you're picturing. No report, no insider, no leak shows Giannis sitting across from the Heat in some meeting that blew up. What actually happened is a months-long trade pursuit, surrounded by non-stop debate. The meeting in the title is really just the collision of a player, a franchise, and a fan base's hope. And horribly wrong is just the loudest opinion in the room, not an actual event. So when you strip away the drama, this isn't a disaster story, it's a disagreement. One side says chasing Giannis blows up in Miami's face. The other says the opposite, just as loudly.
They've got to land Giannis, or it's an absolute failure.
Both can't be true, which means horribly wrong is really just an opinion pretending to be a fact. And some of these opinions don't even survive basic stats. He doesn't shoot, runs straight into a career-best 39.5% from 3. He ages terribly is a guess about a top 10 player who just had one of his best seasons ever. The real facts are way less dramatic than the title suggests. As of right now, Miami is still seen as the frontrunner, not the team that got rejected. Insider Anthony Chang has said for weeks he expects Giannis in Miami next season. The holdup isn't some broken relationship. It's Milwaukee squeezing for a better deal, which any smart team would do. Miami has a real offer on the table, the player's preference, and his best friend already on the roster. So here's the final verdict. The title oversimplifies a much messier truth. There's no record of any meeting going horribly wrong. What's real is a tough, high-stakes negotiation, one Miami is currently leading, surrounded by analysts who can't agree on anything. The skeptics could be right if this deal collapses, or his body breaks down again. The believers could be right if Miami closes the deal and a healthy Giannis changes everything. And Boston could swoop in and make this entire debate pointless. What actually goes wrong, if anything does, we won't know until the draft happens and the dust clears. Until then, the only thing that's truly fallen apart is the gap between a dramatic headline and a much more complicated truth. The meeting isn't broken. The conversation about it is just incredibly loud.